We're diving into something really powerful today. It's this idea that those seasons in your life that feel like a total failure, those long, quiet times when you're just waiting, what if those are actually the moments when God is preparing you for something incredible? We're going to unpack this whole idea through one of the greatest leadership stories ever told, the story of Moses. Everything really kicks off with this one single verse from Exodus chapter 2. It's such a stinging question. See, Moses, who's a prince in Egypt but knows he's a Hebrew, he tries to step into what he thinks is his destiny. But instead of being celebrated as a hero, he gets hit with this sharp public rejection. And it doesn't just question his authority, it exposes a crime he thought nobody knew about. This is the exact moment his whole plan just completely unravels.
I mean, have you ever been there? I think we all have, right? You see a problem, you're passionate about fixing it, so you just jump in with both feet. And then all of a sudden, everything is way worse and you're in way over your head. Well, that's exactly where Moses found himself. He had the right heart, for sure, but his timing and his methods, they were all his own. All right, so let's actually break down what happened here. This first part of the story, it's really a classic case of someone trying to fulfill a divine purpose using their own human strength. And as we're about to see, that is often a recipe for disaster. It all happens so fast. If you read Exodus chapter 2, you see Moses sees this injustice, and his passion just boils over. He looks this way and that, sees no one, and boom, he kills the Egyptian. The very next day, he tries to be the hero again, breaking up a fight between two Hebrews, probably expecting them to thank him, but nope. Instead, his secret gets thrown right back in his face. The confrontation totally backfires, his crime is out in the open, and now he's got to flee for his life. You can just see how one impulsive act led to the next, like a domino effect, sending him straight from a palace into exile. And this, right here, this gets to the absolute heart of the problem. Moses wasn't wrong about his identity. He knew who he was. He knew who his people were. His huge mistake was thinking that just because he knew that, he had the green light to act immediately and, well, violently. He tried to force God's plan on his own schedule, using his own two hands. And the result of all that? It's crystal clear. Instead of delivering his people, he was rejected by them. Instead of becoming their leader, he became a fugitive. It's such a powerful reminder that even our best intentions, when we just run ahead of God's timing, can create way more chaos and fear than actual solutions. So Moses flees to this place called Midian, and for the next 40 years, yeah, you heard me, 40 years, it's like he just disappears off the map. But this wasn't some dead end. This was his classroom. This was the school of waiting, where God was going to do his most important work in shaping a true leader. Just look at this transformation. I mean, it is night and day. In Egypt, he was this powerful prince, totally relying on his own strength. But in Midian, he becomes a humble shepherd. And it's out there, in that wilderness, that he learns the real skills of leadership. The patience you need to guide a stubborn flock. The courage to fight off predators. The wisdom to find water where there isn't any. God was slowly replacing his pride with patience, his impulsiveness with perseverance. So this is what we can call the waiting season. It's so important to get this. It's not a penalty box. It's not God forgetting about you. It's an intentional, purposeful period of divine preparation. It's the time God uses to forge the character, that humility, that patience, that trust, that you're going to need to handle the greater responsibility he has planned for you. Let me just say that again because it's so important. These years were not wasted. From the outside, Moses' life probably looked pretty ordinary, maybe even like a major step down. He was just a shepherd. But on the inside, God was performing like spiritual surgery, shaping the heart of the man who would one day lead an entire nation out of slavery. And that, of course, leads us to the big question. What in the world does this mean for us? How can we take the lessons from Moses' long journey and apply them to our own seasons of waiting, especially when it feels like absolutely nothing is happening? You see, Moses' story is so much more than just ancient history. It's practically a blueprint for understanding how God works. So the real question for you and me becomes, how do we cooperate with that process instead of constantly fighting against it? Okay, first thing, we learn to trust God's timing. And what that means is we pause before we pounce. Instead of just acting on that first impulse, we learn to wait for clear direction. We actively ask God to align not just our desires, but our timing with His. And that requires some deep trust that His plan is unfolding perfectly, one step at a time, even when we can't see the whole staircase ahead of us. And second, and this is just as important, we have to learn to embrace the waiting. This is a huge mindset shift. It means being fully present and faithful right where you are, in that ordinary job, in that role that feels way too small. It's about refusing to look down on these quiet seasons and instead choosing to believe that God is actively shaping your character for what's next, just like he did for Moses out there in the desert.
So, if you remember just one thing from all of this, please let it be this: God prepares before he sends. Your waiting period is not a waste. It is your training ground. The character he is building in you today is the absolute foundation for the calling he has for you tomorrow. So what feels like a delay is actually divine development.